perhaps even changed the direction of your life. There are an endless amount of stories that attest to the incredible, wonderful results of a strong relationship between a teacher and a student. And I know that's certainly true in my own life. In fact, I want you to think about that. Who was that teacher for you? Who was that teacher that positively impacted your life, and why? Here's a letter from one of Mr. Miles' students. It says, "You've been a true inspiration to us all. I think you are an amazing physical education teacher. You've always helped me to relax and have a little fun. In your class, students like me get to try new things and achieve new goals. I hope you will get well soon and continue on teaching because you inspire others around you. Listen to this. You make one life better at a time. Keep up the good work and get well soon. Sincerely, Emma." It's not an exaggeration to say that a teacher can change a student's life. It's been said that great teachers don't just teach you, they change you. Tyler Troy Miles, or more commonly known as Mr. Miles was a great teacher. Why? Because he has inspired and changed the students that he came in contact with. He wasn't just in the business of teaching, he was in the business of changing lives. Another card from a student. It says, "Dear Mr. Miles, I just hope you get better and stay healthy. I just hope you're able to teach me and my class sports and games. I remember one time you said at gym time, you said to never give up. And I didn't. I never gave up. Even when it's hard. You're just so important to me and everyone. You don't deserve to get hurt. You deserve to stay alive and be healthy and be strong." Great teachers don't just teach you, they change you. The Mount Pilchuck Elementary Memorial Choir has a couple of songs that they have invested a lot of time and effort and energy into putting together to celebrate Mr. Miles. Let's listen.
In
been a part of Life Point Church here in Lake Stevens for many years. And something that you may not know about Tyler is Tyler had an incredible, a great reverence for God. He lived in awe of who God is. He loved to worship God. And at church, Tyler would often be brought to tears, moved by the message and the music. He thought long and hard about God's goodness and God's blessings. He was extremely grateful to God. And folks, one of the most powerful characteristics that we can possess and express is gratitude. And most often, a truly grateful person is a generous person. And that was so true of Tyler. Even after he passed away, Tyler, he paid his gratitude forward by donating both of his kidneys and both of his corneas. All four, as we speak, have already been successfully transplanted. And as so many of us know, he loved the outdoors for sure, right? He loved hunting and snow skiing and camping as a family, and boy, did he love to fish. That's an understatement. His fishing boat, which he loved, wasn't great, Tyler's words. But he said it got the job done, and it caught fish. That's all that matters. He also had a fishing hole that legend has it's so secret that if he were to take you there, he'd have to blindfold you first. And I think at the hospital didn't at the hospital somebody say that he actually did that to him? He loved to wear clothes with camo on it. Camo clothes, which Brenda says always didn't go over so well. All right? Gentlemen, there's a time and place for camo. He would often surprise people with his taste in music. Yes, the laughs begin. On more than one occasion, he was caught enjoying a little rap music. I can't even do it. I'm so square. But it's been said of Tyler that he had a little gangsta in him. And for Tyler, when it came to food, he loved him a good buffet. And who doesn't? He also loved to eat salmon, ribeye steak, and prime rib. Man after my own heart. In fact, Tyler has said that, I quote, "My life was like a prime rib dinner." Think about that. Teachable moment here. What's a prime rib dinner like? It's big, it's full, it's got tons of flavor, it's hearty, it's seasoned, it's premium, it's the best tasting and very, very satisfying. And if you're eating prime rib at a buffet, baby, it's endless, right? You just keep going back. It's never ending. Tyler lived life to its fullest. And when it came to teaching, he loved it. And the kids certainly loved him. It was challenging, yes, in his words, but beyond rewarding. I found an article online that appeared in a local publication in October of 2012. The article was titled, maybe you're familiar with it, Homegrown Teachers. And it highlighted teachers in the Lake Stevens schools who had graduated from Lake Stevens High School. And since Tyler graduated from Lake Stevens in 1982, he was featured in one of the articles. And in the article, Tyler says that he always knew that he wanted to be a teacher. And he mentioned how that dream had come to life for him in the same school district where he'd spent some time growing up. And Tyler said that his favorite aspect about being a teacher is watching the kids grow up and to see how they're doing and what they're doing. And he liked to hear about the positive, the good stuff that was happening in their lives. And the article goes on to say that whether in or out of the classroom, Tyler feels very comfortable in the teaching role. I quote, he said, "I feel like I've always been a teacher in some way or another." And that's true. There's a verse in the Bible in James, and it says, "Don't be in any rush to be a teacher. Teaching is highly responsible work. Teachers are held to the strictest standards." Laura Ingalls Wilder, she said it this way. She said, "Teachers, we are doing something worthwhile. For in raising the standard of our children's lives, we are raising the standard of our homes of the future, and our work goes on and on and on, raising the standard of the community and of future generations." One of my favorites that the kids did, Kate, you get mass kudos for this and no up downs, okay? It's a picture, and I wish you could see, you can look at it afterwards. It says, "Mr. Miles was a great PE teacher." You can see the soccer ball, it says soccer ball. And over here is a picture of her, me, and she says, "No, wait," okay? But what's so clever, she took the name Miles and made an acrostic out of Miles. And talk about, listen, M, more than standard. I, infinitely awesome. L is loving. The E is epic. And the S is smart. That's very awesome. And if you know Tyler at all, doesn't that just give you a great picture of who he is and who he'll always be to us? And as I said, he received hundreds of cards and letters written by students. I want to read a couple more. It says, "Mr. Miles, I certainly hope you get better soon because you are one of the best teachers I've ever had. The game that you teach us gets me very excited about Tuesday and Thursday. You're very funny, a bit of a jokester, and you push us to our limits. I'm glad you're my gym teacher. In parentheses, getting hit in the face with a ball almost every gym class, that isn't fun. Again, everybody is faithful that you will get well, and listen, and become the Mr. Miles we all know and love. Get better soon." Dear Mr. Miles, we miss you and hope you get better soon. I love the jokes you made. It made me laugh a lot. You taught us never give up. And you encourage us to try hard. We are all going to miss you, Mr. Miles, our gentle giant. Now, two of Tyler's colleagues and friends, Deborah Howell and Mike Sharman, are going to come up, and along with a couple of family members, after that, they're going to share some thoughts with you. Deborah, Mike?
Strong work ethic, creativity, deep love of his family, impeccable way he dressed, with matching ties and shirts, and a warm and inviting smile were present every single day that we shared with him. Over the 2 years, he had a positive influence over our 2 classrooms of students. And when I sent word about Tyler's passing to my former students, I was very quickly inundated with memories from these kids. It's 10, 12 years ago. And these young men and women have now graduated from college and started families and are now contributing members in society. And even after that much time, they still think of Mr. Miles with warm memories. Among the many comments that I read, one in particular really hit me. One of the kids said, he used to love to start an argument in math. One in particular was whether a square was a rectangle or a rectangle was a square. He would step back, stir the pot with lots of, but what ifs? And I remember him giggling and smiling back at us as we all argued with each other. Now nowadays in the teaching profession we call that justifying your answer, so he was right on. Another one of the kids remembered Brenda making pretzels to send in with him to school. They loved the pretzels. And yet another one that was really strong said, how he always was so welcoming to each and every one of us in the class each and every day. We knew every single day that he truly cared about each one of us. I remember when Tyler was offered his first teaching job here at Mount Pilchuck Elementary as a 4th grade teacher. He called me that summer, and I felt like the older sister when he called to tell the great news. He was just giddy with pride over landing a teaching position in his beloved Lake Stevens. I always enjoyed getting phone calls from him where he'd check in now and then and ask for my advice or just to talk about his family. He loved to brag about his children. Through the many struggles of the day-to-day teaching world, Tyler chose to move out of the regular classroom to the PE. And from everything that I have heard, it was a choice he never regretted. And when my daughter did some of her practicum teaching at Mount Pilchuck a few years ago, he was always positive and encouraging to her. And she said she loved the way she loved to watch him interact with the kids and see them smile back at him. I have many pictures of Tyler during the course of the time he spent in our multi-age program with our students. But one of my favorites is a picture of Tyler setting up this amazing science experiment. And as everything with him goes back to fishing, he had this fishing line strung across the room when I walked in that morning. And he had it set up for the kids to make predictions of something, I don't remember what it was, flying across the room. But he was there with his clipboard and his stopwatch, and he always had the pencil behind the ear, always, 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 and it would come out of nowhere. And Brenda had sent all these lovely lab coats for them to wear and goggles. And I mean, they thought they were the hottest scientists around. And until that particular group left on, and I teach science, they never thought it was as cool as it was when Mr. Miles was there. But there's another time Brenda came in and did a lesson on dental hygiene. And it was interesting to watch Tyler watch her teach. And he just was beaming with pride. And then he'd interject some things, and I'd watch her, and she was beaming with pride. And you could just see that love for each other. At the end of the second school year that he was with us, every year we have an evening event. We show a slideshow, and the kids really wanted to have a section on Mr. Miles. And so they picked out a song they wanted to have with it as well. And it was the Sarah McLachlan song, I Will Remember You, Will You Remember Me? And I remember him being very angry with me. He said, how am I supposed to get through a song like that? And I'm left thinking about that as well right now. We were also teary-eyed when he left us to come to Lake Stevens. And Adrienne and Bernadette, I just thank you for sharing your father, not just with the kids in Lake Stevens, but the kids in Granite Falls, who share your father with their children as well. We will always remember your dad. Brenda, we will always remember your husband. Thank you, Tyler, for being such an important part of all of our lives. And rest assured, we will never forget you, Mr. Miles.
It's a huge honor to be here today. I met Tyler, as Deborah had said, when he was assigned to our multi-age program. As he started his practicum work and eventually led to a student teaching experience and working together for 2 years. I learned that he had two other passions in his life. Fishing. Fishing was huge. And being a family man. He happily told of epic fishing adventures, and however, he enjoyed talking about his wife and kids more. And if we weren't talking about our students, Tyler and I would probably be talking about our own children and spouses. He was so proud to be a dad. And his family was truly his world. It really was. He was determined to become a teacher, and as you know, when he was determined to do something, nothing could stop him. And so he quickly learned that being a teacher is so much more than test scores and teaching someone to multiply or how to write a compare and contrast essay. Along with those types of lessons comes the whole child. Their emotional well-being, their self-esteem, their family life, personal challenges, and life views. And that can be challenging, but amazingly rewarding, as he quickly found out. These very things can weigh heavily on you, and they don't leave your thoughts when you walk out of the building at the end of the day. You take it home. It's impossible not to. But nonetheless, when the bell rang and the doors opened and the kids walked through the door, one thing was for sure. If you watched him, you would see that patented smile of his come out. That smile was so genuine, so real, so unguarded. That smile was exactly like he was with every one of his students. Genuine, real, unguarded, and all in. He understood how important each child was, no matter how challenging they were. I think he actually enjoyed the challenge. He also took great pride and joy in watching his students discover new abilities and celebrating even the smallest of victories. He would do anything for any student because he understood how important and how valuable each one was. He was a fantastic educator. I know that Tyler's moved on from his time with us here, yet his smile, that total smile, and all it stood for remains with each of us who has had the honor of knowing him. And he would want us to continue to share that smile with everyone we meet. Each of us will find the right time to share that smile again, and my time is today. Tyler was a great man, and we are all better for knowing him. Thank you.
Hi guys. I've written this out and I've called it shoes. Shoes. Shoes tells a lot about the person who wears them. They're hunting shoes, fishing shoes, working shoes, running shoes, walking shoes, shoes to wear at the beach, flip-flops. You name it, somebody has a specialized pair of shoes for it. But it's not the shoes that make the difference. It's the person wearing the shoes that makes the difference. I can put on a pair of Michael Jordan shoes. Will they make me a better basketball player? Or if I put on a pair of Tiger Woods shoes, will I be a better golfer? Or if I put on Russell Wilson shoes, will I become an NFL quarterback? Of course not. The answer is no. Not once again, it's not the shoes that make the difference. Tyler wore a lot of different shoes. If you knew him, you knew his favorite shoes, fishing and hunting shoes. But I never got to hunt or fish with Tyler. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm not here to talk about the time he wore those shoes. I'm here to talk stories. I'm here to say favorite things about Tyler. You've heard it before, his sense of humor and his heart of a champion. First is humor. I was talking to him one night, and I was telling him about a hike that my son-in-law and I had gone on. I was telling him about the mountains and the streams, and he stopped me and he goes, "What? You go walking in the woods without a rifle?" I replied, "Well, we go for the beauty of exercise, God's creation." He said, "I did look up once and see a mountain." You kind of walk away and you go, "What did you just do?" And that was Tyler. He'd sneak a joke on you like that. And now he's hard. Tyler played to win. Don't get me wrong. He played to have fun. But there was many times when we played basketball where he'd lit me up on the court, or we played together and he defended well and rebounded and we would win the game. When he put on those basketball shoes, he gave it all he had to win. Quitting was not in his vocabulary, and he wouldn't quit until the game was over. And Tyler would not want us to quit on life either. I can't wear Tyler's shoes. I can't run the race that Tyler ran. You and I can only run the race that God has put us in. The book of Hebrews talks about the heroes of faith who walk before us. I won't go into them now, but I will tell you, I'm going to add Tyler's name to that list. And I will encourage you to heed the words from Hebrews, chapters 12, verses 1 and 2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out before us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, scorning its stain, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Tyler's race on earth is over. He has received his prize. He is in heaven with Jesus and our Heavenly Father. Are we going to miss him? Sure. Are there going to be times when we doubt our faith? Sure. But we can learn from Tyler's example. When he loaded his boat with fishing gear, or slung that rifle over his shoulder, or put on his basketball shoes, he never doubted that he would come back empty-handed. He was also sure that God exists, and never doubted that Jesus came to save us from our sins. So run the good race as Tyler did. Don't quit until you've reached the finish line of the race God has put before you. I want us to take a minute. This is a celebration of life. So if you'd stand up. Now, visualize a track with a finish line. There are the officials waiting at the finish line. The track is lined with family and friends. There on the track is Tyler crossing that line, breaking through the tape and winning the race. Now let's cheer him on. Cheer so he can hear. He has just won the ultimate race. Good job.
If you didn't catch it, that's Brenda's uncle, and this is Brenda's dad.
Thank you all for coming. This is fantastic. And thank all of you. I was a teacher for better than 30 years. I was lucky. Look to do that. Well, you know, I'm Tyler's father-in-law. He called me Dale, and sometimes he called me Dad. Many, many fish tales, or should I say fish stories, fill my memories of Tyler. A standing joke with sports fishers is that when a nice-sized fish is landed, you then mark the side of the boat. So you can always later find that special fishing location to catch another big fish. Tyler's boat goes one step further. It has a GPS device that steers the boat straight back to the right fishing spot again. Hey, I'm not kidding. It actually did. His boat also is equipped with a remote steering for the attached smaller trolling outboard motor, so Tyler can stand anywhere in the boat and multitask while steering it with his remote control wand. One like this. Just like you and I use to change the channels on our TV set. I remember one occasion Tyler had one of his sisters steering the boat. Now you kids are going to have to really listen to this. This is the funniest thing that you can imagine Mr. Miles doing. Just picture this. Okay, back to his sister, okay, or sisters. So he had him steering the boat, and he decided to have a little fun with her. Now remember, Tyler was the baby of the family. And I speculate that these older sisters, all four of them, were in his face a lot when he was a mischievous, nuisance kid underfoot like a few I see around here. Okay? So it was fun for him to get a little good-natured revenge now and then. I forget which sister it was, but Tyler was calling out instructions to her as to where to steer the boat. So the sister would steer the boat in that direction, but the boat would go the other way. Finally, after repeatedly following Tyler's louder and louder instructions, the sister, in complete frustration, swiveled her pedestal seat around, and just as she was glaring at him with her piercing, angry eyes, was about to shout profanities at her kid brother, he pointed his remote right at her face, and as he did, the boat went the way she wanted it to. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. He got a lot of fun sister revenge that day. And you know exactly what Mr. Miles was like. You can just see this whole thing going on. So now on to the fish tale. I want to spin this tale about the time, probably 8 years ago, when Tyler and I took his boat fishing in the Columbia Gorge upstream from Vancouver at a popular launch area called Beacon Rock State Park. Many of you know where that is. On our way, we stopped at Bob's Sporting Goods store, Tyler's favorite place in Longview. One of the special fishing lures that he found there had an LED light built into it for night fishing. Now, any self-respecting Chinook salmon could surely not resist striking anything that tempting, flashing in the dark night water of the mighty Columbia. So we arrive at the launch just a little before dusk and get the boat into the water, head out to the fast water current where Tyler drops anchor at its edge in the slower water. Tyler put out line from his mounted fishing pole, put that line in the crystal clear moving water, and he gets set for the evening catch in the dark of night. It is rigged with that special flashing LED light lure. So we settle in for the night, each snuggled in our padded sleeping bag under the star-filled sky of this beautiful late spring night on the lower Columbia. Tyler asked me if I knew about the bestseller book novel titled The Shack. It is a story where tragedy confronts eternity, featuring the appearance of Jesus. I said I hadn't read it yet, but our church pastor had mentioned it. Tyler asked me if I wanted to listen to an audio copy that he had bought along for the trip. And there, out on the fast-moving, majestic Columbia River that night, we listened to the story of The Shack. I really liked it. It was just this past year that I saw the popular movie based on its story. It was fairly late when we finally turned it off, I was pretty tired and soon fell asleep. Then, about 3 a.m. that morning, Tyler jumped out of his sleeping bag, leaped to the back of the boat, and grabbed his fishing pole. He yelled, "Fish on!" I fumbled around looking for a flashlight, and Tyler was really working that fish in the pitch black night. He knew it was a big fish the way it was taking out line, which was only 25-pound test strength. It was quite a sight. But I couldn't really see much except for the spot from the flashlight. All the while, though, I could hear the fast-moving water slipping and slapping under the boat. And every few seconds or so, I'd hear the zip, zip, zip sound of the line unwinding off the reel, screeching through the pole eyelets and cutting into the water. Tyler had all he could do to hang on to the pole. There was no way he was going to reel his fish in. He yelled out, "It's a sturgeon!" And then, just as suddenly as the line raced off the reel, it stopped. The pole stopped bending. There was no more struggling. It was over. The 25-pound test line went limp. It had broken, and the fish was gone. And to this very day, you can be very sure that Tyler, from his strategic heavenly perch, is tracking that gigantic prehistoric creature on night patrol, still cruising the mighty Columbia, searching the river bottom with its flashing LED light. But wait, there's more. Fishtails are never short, you know. I crawled back into my sleeping bag, and it seemed like only minutes when I awoke to the sound of the boat motor starting up. Tyler was pulling anchor. He reached over and pushed the throttle of his super powerful inboard Mercury to full speed ahead, and we are on our way upriver to his favorite GPS spot. When we got there to set the anchor, I noticed another boat, anchored about 30 to 40 yards shoreward in pretty fast-moving water. I said to Tyler, "Looks like somebody beat you to your spot." He said, "No, that's his spot." I said, "Do you know him?" Tyler said, "Yeah, that's my buddy Adam." So right away, I knew we were destined for some great fishing action. Adam Davis and his 4-year-old son were never skunked. They had already landed one salmon that morning. They waved at us in the early morning light, and we rigged our poles, set our lures, and had an early morning bite to eat. Me with my thermos of hot coffee, and Tyler with his Diet Coke. The sun was beginning to brighten up that morning sky, and I noticed that about 50 yards downriver, boats were beginning to line up laterally across the river. The fishing guides evidently had GPS rigged boats too. On the right were 4 boats, anchored in fast water. Their colorful anchor buoys were bouncing on the water not very far down from us. Then within an hour, more boats were lining up with them. They were extended a little further out near the river center in the faster water. Curiously, though, there was a vacant space directly below us in that line of boats. We figured it was saved for somebody special. These fishing guides all work under an unwritten code of honor. Most of the boats had 3 or 4 people in them, and several were open-topped without a cabin, big enough to be fishing with 7 or 8 people, plus the guides. Now remember, Tyler has his 21-foot sport fishing boat equipped with a smaller remote-controlled outboard motor used just for fishing. I was in my element, and I was fishing with one of the most talented, skillful fishermen I'll ever know. Tyler could have easily succeeded as a sport fishing guide himself. Well, action on the river was calm now, and I sort of did some relaxing and a little daydreaming. And it came to mind a Bible passage, John 21:6, where Jesus was standing on the Sea of Galilee's shore, calling out to Peter and other disciples fishing offshore in a boat. And they were getting skunked. Jesus yelled to them, "Throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you'll get some." So they did. And they couldn't haul in the net because there were so many fish in it. I was thinking it would be nice for Tyler and me to have a guardian angel too, just about now. Suddenly, my pole bends all the way down and the line goes screaming off the reel. I grab it, set the hook. It's a big salmon. Tyler starts the remote motor, releases the buoyed anchor, and begins to guide the boat stern first down the river. I'm working the fish and a bit worried that it will race from one side to the other and get tangled in the anchor lines below us. Luckily for us, though, that fish swam straight downstream, right through that vacant spot. As Tyler skillfully guided his boat down through the slot, I kept working the fish. I'll never forget that minute as we passed the boats. One on each side of us, each within 10 feet as we passed side by side. On my right was a middle-aged couple, probably man and wife, with their fishing guide between them. I can still hear the lady say to her husband, "Is that what a salmon's like?" Then at the same time, on the other side was a much bigger boat, filled with probably 8 or 10 people, all talking excitingly as we passed by. But I had no idea what they said. We learned later that they were all Ukrainians. Portland has a big Ukrainian settlement. On down the river we went. Tyler, with his remote wand, skillfully maneuvered the boat out into the open toward the middle of the river where the current was getting pretty fast. We were well away from the other boats, and I had managed to bring the fish up to the boat. Tyler netted it, and then with a loud, disgusting shout over the roar of both the river and the motor, he yelled out, "Dale, it's a native. We have to cut it loose." And it was easily 25 pounds or more. No kidding, it was a big one. So for the second time, that beautiful adventurous day, a big fish splashed its tail on the way to freedom. Then I thought, yes, Tyler and I did have a guardian angel today. Because this is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118. My memories of Tyler will always rejoice in the loud sound of his voice echoing across the water, calling out, "Fish on!" Rest in peace, dear son. We will never forget you. Amen.
Adrian, Tyler's son, has shared some words, written some words out that I'd like to share with you. Says, my dad was a great role model and great dad. I know kids say their dad was the best dad, but it's no joke when I say that my dad was truly the greatest dad. He instilled in me the morals that I carry with me every day. He has had the biggest influence on the man that I've become. I think it's safe to say he's had an influence on everyone he's come in contact with. I want to be mad, and there's a lot of me that is mad about what has happened. Our hearts are truly broken from this, and I know over time we will manage this better. We are never going to get over this happening. Who is supposed to teach my kids someday how to fish? I didn't pay enough attention when I was a kid. Most of the time, being woken up at 3 a.m. in the morning wasn't a lot of fun for me. Now I miss it, and I want to fish and learn that skill and be able to do it with my family someday. Who's supposed to fix stuff around the house for my mom and all the other stuff you do as a husband or father? So many things you take for granted every day. We appreciated everything he did for us. Missing him is an understatement. I never thought I would have to be going through the first part of really being an adult without my dad. I'm currently living in Colorado with my girlfriend Holly and our dog Cy and her cat. I talk to my dad every couple days. The last time I saw him was Thanksgiving weekend when we flew to Washington to spend some time with family. I was finally at the age where my dad was more of a best friend. I learned a lot from him. I can't wait to pass on my knowledge of everything he ever taught me. I have so many memories with him, most of which are good. I can honestly say we had a great relationship. I think everyone has something good to say about my old man. My dad was someone who everyone felt comfortable with, and he could be mostly anybody's friend. I think some of my best memories are going fishing with my dad. Those times, he had nothing on his mind, and he was truly happy. No stress from work or any distractions. We would eat like kings, and he always made our sleeping quarters awesome. I remember a fishing trip with my dad and my godbrother, Jordan, fishing on the Cowlitz River and sleeping in the boat. eating junk food and being manly with my dad. Another time with my grandpa Phil and my dad fishing the Columbia River in Astoria, Oregon. We loaded up the boat with my parents' old Suburban, me, my old man, and his old man. In the back was fishing poles. Maybe some clothes and a bag of rolls from Costco, a jar of peanut butter, and jar of jelly. I was pretty young, so I don't vividly remember, but I'm sure all of us eating only PB&J and drinking gallons of Diet Coke. And sleeping in the back of a Suburban along with my grandpa's colostomy bag. I'm just reading it. That was a horrible combo for smells. Especially as we walked in the door to our house, back home after a long weekend of that, and sitting in the rain, fishing. Another time fishing with my dad and my Uncle Chris on the Skagit for salmon. One of the few times I remember not fishing from a boat. We were fishing on the bank and sleeping in my parents' camper at night. And I remember seeing my dad and uncle preparing to kick some guy's butt who was fishing next to us. I'm sure there's a good story there. I also remember not sleeping. Because if you've ever slept in the same general area as my dad, without his sleep machine, you know that you probably weren't going to get much sleep that night. Some might compare it to standing in a quiet forest with guys cutting down trees with chainsaws 5 feet from you. He underscored, this is not an exaggeration. One of my most proud moments I've had with my dad was when we were deer hunting in Kashmir, Washington. It was me, my dad, and our friend Tom Webb. Traditionally, we would get 20 bean burritos from Taco Bell for our drive to our hunting spot. This time, we bought 2 family buckets of KFC chicken for the drive over. Tom and I were able to be there with my dad when he shot his first deer. That was truly a special moment for me. Especially because when I was 12 years old, I shot my first deer with my old man in the same area. My grandpa Dale has had 3 deer hung in his garage from me and my dad. We stayed at Grandpa Dale's house when we deer hunted over there over Thanksgiving weekend. And when I shot my deer, we were lucky enough to have Ray passing through the area to show us how to butcher that deer. We had no idea what we were doing. To this day, my best friend Hans still talks about fishing the Snohomish River for humpies. I'm so thankful for these memories. And these are just a few of the many I have. Writing this is difficult because I have so many emotions and so much on my mind. Even though my dad is gone with us here on earth, I still have so many influences in my life. I'm thankful for all the things that my dad did for me and our family. I'm thankful to have so many positive influences. I know we have so many people who care for us and will keep us in their prayers. Even though I'm 23, I still wasn't ready to be the man of the family. Dad, I promise to take care of Mom and Bernadette. I can do this because I watched you do it for my whole life. I know how to treat people right and how to do the right thing because I watched him. We will be strong and grow closer through this event. Dad, we miss you incredibly. It's not fair that this has happened. I love you. We love you. We can't wait to see you again. We already have so much to catch up on. Adrian. This is from Tyler's daughter, Bernadette. Let's do it.
actually on the stage. I was out there pretending like I was throwing up because I didn't want to come up here. But I came out with my water bottle and my dad, and we stand over in that corner. Life is full of two things, ugliness and beauty. As humans, we dwell on negativity and forget to stop and look at all the beauty God has given us. For a lot of us, this doesn't feel real, and it's as if I'm living in a bad dream. But don't stop praying, don't stop believing, because I know that there is a God up there who gracefully grabbed my dad, a God who blessed me with the most flawless dad I could have ever asked for. A dad who was present in my life and brought so much goodness and beauty in my life. There are so many good things that I would like to share about my dad, but that would take absolutely forever. Last year, I was going through a really tough time at school, and one day I just completely broke, and I needed to go home and leave school. I walked through the doors and ran into my dad's arms, and I collapsed and cried. My dad was always there to pick me up. He would never let anyone be upset, and I needed his hug so badly. My dad was with me every step that year, on my side throughout it all. This year I moved schools and I'm doing much better and finding a lot more happiness. A couple of days ago, I felt completely broken by God taking God from me, and then I was told, your dad was able to go to heaven. Knowing that you were in a better place this year, and you were on to better things. And this is true for my whole family. My dad got to see Adrian's career bloom and see so many good doors open for him. My dad was able to be with my mom as she was walking into a new chapter in her career and helping her to be able to share so much good. There will not be one day that goes by that I will not think of my dad and know that he is there. As I grab my diploma after I finish all my classes, hearing him say, dig deep on the times that I struggled. As I receive my first patients, I can only imagine how proud he would be of me for sticking with it. As I meet the man of my dreams, taking a step into marriage, knowing that my dad would love this guy. I know my dad's going to be right there by my side, walking me down the aisle. As I grow a family on my own, I'm going to make sure my kids know the man that raised me. They're going to know how funny he was through all the memories that I share with him. My dad will forever be one of my favorite people. And I made sure to tell him that the night before. I will continue to get this constant image of my head. The image of my dad cracking out one of his jokes and tilting his head back with a huge smile that covered his cheeks. This was one of my favorite things about my dad, his happiness. Looking back at all the memories, I see him as one of the happiest persons and one of the funniest. A happiness that was totally contagious. He never let anyone be sad or upset, and he lit up every room that he walked in. Dad, I promise to always dig deep. Do not judge others like you taught me. Do not marry any stupid boys. To love Jesus. And to cook grilled cheese sandwiches with mayonnaise and not butter. To be there for Mom and Adrian. To get a system so I don't lose my keys every day. To know that it does matter. And to love others more, because you never will understand what they're going through. And I promise to always make you proud. Because I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Bernadette, for not only sharing your heart with us, but sharing your dad with us today. Some thoughts from Brenda. Thank you, everyone, for your support and love during the last 6 weeks. To say there are no words is an understatement. Your kind acts and words have helped us cope with the loss of Tyler. I lost my husband, and my kids lost their dad. But everyone in this room today lost someone as well. You lost a friend, a brother, a son, a cousin, an uncle, a nephew, a teacher, a coach, a colleague, and a peer. None of these losses pales next to another. The truth is, Tyler was a big personality. He filled a space in every one of our lives that we didn't know existed until we are now faced with that space being empty. We can come together now and lean on each other with this shared grief. Support each other as we miss this fantastic man who meant so much to all of us. I can still say I was lucky. Lucky to have known true love. Lucky to have shared my life with my best friend. And then to have two beautiful children together. Such a blessing. Almost too good to be true. I often felt myself thinking this throughout our life together. Our faith in God often buoyed our marriage. It lifted it to heights that I don't think would have been possible if we hadn't constantly aligned our life with Jesus. Because we met at a young age, we were able to see each other grow and change. Again, we were lucky to grow and change in the same direction. And that doesn't always happen. Tyler was my biggest fan, my softest critic, my teammate in this journey of life. He made me laugh at myself. He made me laugh all the time. We had the gift of being able to talk deeply and honestly with each other. We shared dreams and fears, often challenging each other to make changes in our thoughts and actions when we couldn't see obstacles with our own eyes. Tyler gently pushed me out of my comfort zone, showing me beauty in things and places I couldn't have seen on my own. He gave me an appreciation for love, looking different than what I was accustomed to. He saw hope and promise in situations that may have seemed hopeless on the surface. He truly grasped the importance of living life to the fullest every day and was undoubtedly one of the hardest working people I have ever known. He approached situations with a quiet persistence. He never gave up, ever. Things you might not have known about Tyler: he was terrified of spiders He hated Brussels sprouts. Amen. He thought growing flowers was a waste of time because you couldn't eat them. Makes sense. He loved the smell of lavender, despite not being able to eat it. And always, fish on. Thank you, Brenda.